Welcome to Naked Notes, where two chicks talk about notes while they're What? That's not what this podcast is about? Welcome to Naked Notes, where you will learn the honest, unfiltered, and naked truth about buying non-performing notes throughout the country. Whether you're brand new to this type of investing or have your own portfolio, let Naked Notes be your guide through the note world. Now, here are your hosts, Jasmine and Shelby.
Welcome to Naked Notes. I'm your host, Jasmine Wilwa.
And I am Shelby Reed. Welcome back. We are so excited for today's episode. This is Season 8, Episode 3. And today we're going to cover a big topic of what do you do after you buy a note? Because we always talk about getting a note, how do you get one, where can you find one, what's a good deal? But then what do you actually do when you have the note, Jasmine?
Right. So critical to your success, especially for those of you who like processes. If you like processes, if you're into things like best practices, then this is probably the community that you're looking for. The Note Assistance Program is here for you. And this is what we're going to talk about with you today during this podcast. So yeah, before we get into that, let's talk about our note related moments, because I cannot tell you how much I look forward to doing these episodes now, just getting it back up and running. I mean, a lot of that has to do with my new co-host, but this is also about sharing and spreading the wealth. So my note related moment is about creativity. Over the last week or two, I've been personally impressed with the amount of creativity that we've used within this community to succeed and profit from the notes that we've gotten. And so the creativity that's needed in note investing and the creativity that we have here within this community is really my aha note related moment for you guys. So if you are out there investing on your own, I can appreciate it. You're making some good profits, but for me, it's those days when we all have them, when you're foggy in the brain, you have too much going on and you're looking at a note and you're just like, you keep putting it off because you're like, I just can't figure out what we're going to do. We have the luxury of jumping on a call, running it by a few of our members. And before we're done, we have at least 3 or 4 different ideas. Have you found that?
Absolutely. That's actually what I was going to bring up today too, because even when we first got on this call, I'm kind of a little bit in that brain fog, honestly, at the moment, because we're looking at a lot of different notes. I'm eager to keep the momentum going, just like I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, but I'm worried, am I being too picky, too particular? Am I looking at it the right way? Am I not? And so just a 5-minute call with you, or if it's someone else in the group, to just really quickly run through it and see, how are you looking at it? What do you see? What are you looking for? And then that way it either just helps you reiterate that you are correct in your thinking, or maybe they're pointing out something that you don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a great moment to bring up. So yeah, I mean, it's all about that investorships is what we have, right? And so when we talk about that, we may not even be in the same deal together, but because we all are cheering each other on, we are bringing ideas and helping each other profit. And so therefore that investorships term still applies, because we are people helping each other and becoming friends over profiting, right? So just excited about that. And thank you.
That's right. I love it. I think that was 2 great, super real note related moments for the week, which is what the goal of that was to just share what's going on in our minds, for the week on notes. And with that, we're gonna take a minute and hear from our sponsor, and then we'll get right back into the episode.
Are you ready to build your legacy and work for yourself? NAP, the Note Assistance Program, is here to help you build your empire with mortgage note investing. Receive monthly inventory in your inbox. Get access to top-notch online training and participate in trusted transactions with vetted sellers and buyers. Join their community by visiting noteassistanceprogram.com now and register for one of their nationwide note labs or online training today.
All right, welcome back. Yeah, just to get back to the touch base, I should say, back on the note related moment real quick. I just want to let you know that, again, no matter what and how much you think we are advanced with you than you, if you're listening to this, and we've had X amount of years involved with this, we too have that brain fog sometime, and it happens. And so, yeah, that's what you guys mean to me. Just to put that out there as a community. There are days like even I wake up and I'm slow to think about creative ways, but I have a community that we've built over 10 years, and you guys just keep me going with all the creative ideas and things like that. So today we're talking about, as she mentioned, the things that you do after you close on a note. And so why is that important? We boil it down to 4 things. We love systems here and processes. So we have this taken down to what we call our S.T.I.R process. So I'm gonna have Shelby tell you what that means. But if you're listening out there, yes, it's just like S.T.I.R, S.T.I.R, like stirring the pot, right?
You have to watch the video if you're not watching right now, because Jasmine was actually just stirring the pot of what you do when you get a note, because it really is so true. I mean, everyone always wants to talk about how you get a deal, and that's all fine and great. But then once you get the deal, what do you do after you get the deal? And that's what can really make or break the deal to begin with, honestly. Because as Jasmine said, we break it down into a little acronym called S.T.I.R, and it stands for servicing, taxes, insurance, and recording. And that doesn't have to necessarily happen in that way, that pattern, but they're all so important. Yes. And they flow together. They're also important that they go together, but individually, they're all very, very important too. So we're going to go through each one and break it down. Jasmine, I'll let you get started on it.
Yeah, well, here's what I want to bring up. Like you said, these are acronyms. They don't all have to be done at the same time, because obviously you're running a business here, but these are things that the first 4 things that we suggest you do after you close on a note, and you'll start to understand why as we walk you through this. But back to one of the big points Shelby brought up is that what we believe here in this community is that you book all your profits in the beginning. So when you do your budget sheets and you're looking at the deal, and when you start putting in the offer, before you buy that deal, that's when all your profits are really booked. What happens after you close that deal is where the S.T.I.R comes in, and why it's a verb, an action verb, because these are the things you have to do now to get and extract that profit. You have booked it, okay, but that doesn't mean it's over. Now you have to extract them. And for us, we love we love to delegate. Obviously, we love our due diligence. That was a Freudian slip, but that's on the front end. But after that, what we love is that we love to know what we need to do to extract them. And here are the 4 things that we have here for you. So as you mentioned, the S is servicing. We think a couple of things that are paramount here for us is, 1, we avoid and do not buy notes that are self-serviced, right? So there are a couple of reasons for that. And so assuming that you've adhered to that as well, then whoever that you are transferring the servicing from needs to be sent to your new servicer. So you should have identified a servicer well before you've closed on that note. How important do you think that is, Shelby?
It's huge, because as soon as you buy that note, you got to be ready to onboard it with the servicing. So actually, S probably is one of the first steps you're going to take in the S.T.I.R verb that you're going to have happen. But you don't want to just now be making those phone calls to people to try to, introduce yourself, make a relationship, understand their pricing, like do all that legwork now, so that when you actually get that note, you know exactly who you're calling. You're calling, Michelle over at Reps, or you're calling David at SNet. You know who you're calling. Amen. So that by the time you make that call, you know exactly what they're looking for, and you can make that process as smooth as possible. Because the last thing you want to have happen is you've bought this great note that you've done all this due diligence on, and now you've missed a beat because you don't know who's going to service it.
And you have different delays, right? So again, regardless whether it's performing or not, some of you out there thinking, well, if it's non-performing, not a big deal. 1, there's a lot of compliance involved. So yes, a big deal, right? There's a hello and goodbye letter that has to be sent out to these people, regardless of whether it's performing, abandoned or not. Just for the whole exercise, that has to be done just for compliance. So again, if you are adhering to what we are, which is making sure that it's coming from another third-party servicer, they're going to be very kind of adamant about that timeline, and that has been done quickly. So back to her point about knowing and having even accounts set up before, these are things that you can be doing on the front end. Once you know that you're either in the note business, right? A lot of you already have services, so you've got that done. But if you're new, that account setup process is really an important thing that you want to get taken care of on the front end, because it's paperwork, there may be setup fees, And then obviously relationships that you want to begin if you're new, establishing.
Yeah. But also too, you just need to do your due diligence, and you just need to know what you're getting yourself into. So you got to know what the pricing is. You got to know the cost, so that when you're pricing that asset, you're running your budget sheet, you're factoring in the right cost. So again, you just got to get that stuff done beforehand.
Agreed. So that is a heavy piece of knowledge we just dropped there for you, for both seasoned and new investors, right? Because for a lot of you guys that are out there doing this, again, it's reiterating the importance of servicing and why we here strictly have the rule of we don't buy self-service notes, right? It's just a lot of like additional risk that you don't really need. So lastly, I want to say with the servicing piece is just that there are enough, like it takes long enough to get that servicing piece. It's one of the, patience is one of the things we talk about here in general, but it's because you're going to see in most of these, there are timelines that are just have to adhere to, right? So they have enough time that it takes just to get it done when things are done correctly. You don't want to like inadvertently just add to the time, right? And cause more mistakes and drag it on. So that's what you find out once you're really seasoned. One of the things for me is like, now we got to work on timing, right? So it's just like an athlete, okay, I'm really good at the sport. Now I got to really fine tune my speed. I've got to fine tune all that stuff.
Right. No, so good. So going to the next one, you think we can move on to the T?
100%. Let's talk about taxes.
Okay.
So with taxes, obviously that's important. Again, a lot of that legwork you've done on the front end, you should already know how much taxes outstanding, if there's any delinquent taxes, if there are tax sales pending that you need to take care of immediately. Anything else you want to add?
No, just do your homework beforehand. Like Jasmine said, you should already know all these things by the time you go to close on your loan, but you better, because you're going to budget that into your spreadsheet. So it shouldn't be a surprise, but you need to make sure that you understand what's going on with the taxes, so that when you own that paper, you're in control and you know what you need to do next.
A couple benefits for taking care of that up front, right? A lot of you guys, again, if you're seasoned, you're listening to this, you have sophisticated tax strategies where, you may not pay for another 3 or 4 months. You understand you're accruing 18% interest if there's already a lien on it, all these things, but it's about when you're deploying your cash. Your cash flow is important. So that's more, again, once you're higher level, you're maybe a fund, you're thinking about how your income disbursement is going to be, right? So you may play with that a little more. But again, if you're new and if you have the income, what I'm going to tell you to do is take care of that taxes first. A couple reasons why. Like I said, there may be a pending sale. Now, you, of course, should have uncovered that already, right? So assuming you have, what you want to do, a lot of us here, we're buying notes when we know, right? And that's maybe we're getting a discount because of that. We're buying those when we know that there are delinquent taxes. And so if there's a sale in 30 days, 45 days, get that thing taken care of immediately, so that it's not coming to haunt you and you're not slipping or missing the date. Because if you're in a tax deed state, that can be really, really costly, right? Boom, you've lost your entire investment. If you're in a tax lien state, now you've got more paperwork and more time and more costs involved. But again, at least you're still safe. But again, the taxes, second to servicing and in tandem, if you can, you want to start getting those addressed right away. Now, again, if you don't have any pending taxes, everything's current, then great. This might be a time for you to double check, right, and confirm, because again, you don't want anything sneaking up on you. And your attorney will usually do a 30-year tax search for you or title search for you at this point. So that'll help. But regardless, making sure, even if you are current, go ahead and touch that T part of this verb here and do that taxes and reiterate and reconfirm that nothing's due. Because again, if you're in a tax deed state, you can lose your entire investment.
Absolutely. And so one question I want to ask, and I know the answer, but I think it's good for everybody to hear, is how do we even find the taxes? Like, where are you looking at? Where are you trying to find this stuff at? Is that coming when you pull title? Are you looking on the county assessor's website? How are you, Jasmine, when you're trying to figure out the taxes, where are you getting that information from?
Taxes is probably one of the most thorough things that I'm looking at. And when I mean that, is like I touch it so many times, right? So in the beginning, I'm gonna do some basic desktop due diligence, as we call it here, go online, check out the community websites, even on Zillow, see what taxes were paid last week, get an estimate of what it's gonna cost. And then I'm usually always budgeting at least 1 year's worth of taxes in my budget. Again, if case there's anything delinquent, I have at least a year's worth of delinquent taxes money budgeted. If it's more than that, the surprise isn't as heavy as it would be. And then also, if I'm pulling the taxes and there's and I'm putting that 1 year's budget, and then if it's nothing delinquent, everything's current, now I have a budget for next year's. Because typically when you buy a note, if you're lucky, you'll be out in 6 to 8 months. But typically, you're looking at a year and a half. And so you want to have that year's worth of taxes in your budget so you can get it paid. So I'm looking at it again, initially on the front end, desktop due diligence, right before I close. We're pulling title. If you work with one of our favorite title companies, Pro Title, shout out to Alex. If you work with one of our favorite title companies, they're going to have a summary of the taxes at the bottom as well. That's not the end all. What I would also click is want to check on the water, as you know, and the other options that you may have delinquent. But when you're working with Pro Title, they have an option for you to pick what you want to report on. Taxes is one of them. So we're checking taxes there again to confirm, right? And then lastly, this is when I'm picking up the phone. I'm going to also pick up the phone and call to verify before I wire the money. So you should always have that taken care of. So I'm touching taxes so many times because, again, that's how important it is.
Awesome. Okay. Awesome. I think that was really helpful because I think we talk about it a lot, but we need to understand where you get the information from too. So
yeah, and then how deep and how serious you take it. So yeah, moving to the insurance. What have you found to be important about the insurance, Shelby?
So the insurance honestly has been like an interesting one that I've been kind of trying to work through because this whole forced place insurance versus, having it in place. And I've got my note portfolio right now is consisting of performing loans. However, one of them is a little semi-performing and it's a lease option. So I went ahead and placed insurance on it. I actually placed insurance on the other one I have too that's performing. The borrower should have insurance, but the servicer can't get confirmation of it, and I have no documentation of it. So I think it was like $800, or it was under $1,000. I just paid it for the year to put it on there, and that way I'm covered. And the servicing company is collecting, I think, $55 a month for that anyway to cover me and reimburse me. But yeah, so it's something that you'll need to get an understanding of if the borrower has it in place or if you need to put it in place, because if you just need to make sure someone's got insurance and that it's in the proper hands in case something happens from the minute you close on that loan.
Yeah, again, a sense of urgency. I don't know, if it should have started with insurance, because insurance is so important from the fact of that if you're not buying, and I say this half-heartedly, but if you're not buying in California, maybe New York, and I'm saying this because follow me with this, these are areas where you may be less prone to having immediate or seasonal disasters, right, with Mother Nature. But if you're buying in the Midwest, if you're buying in Indiana, there's times when it's hurricane season, it's tornado season. And so I've had an experience, if you're not familiar with that, I closed on a note 2 days later, Tornado Ivan comes through, Ian, somebody's coming through. And so that insurance is, especially with us, since we get an opportunity to buy at discounts, for those of you who are paying, at par or at payoff or above, sometimes it's less of an option, but the insurance is a real exit strategy for some of us. Okay. And so if and it's a viable one too. So if you purchase a loan and a hurricane or something comes to demolish your house, if you have insurance, believe it or not, they know you're getting a check. And now you still have an asset to deal with, right? So a lot of times we've made significant amount of profits because we've actually got it in place. Again, on the opposite side, I've had only, I think, about one person in the entire inception of this program, 10 years now, coming up for next year, who did not do the insurance right away. So again, this S.T.I.R are things you want to do as soon as you close. Within that day, you need to have this thing rolling out, if not the next 24 to 48 hours. So I've had one person not get the insurance, and lo and behold, right after they close, I won't say right after, but maybe 6 to 8 months after they close, there's a fire. Now, they were playing it really close with the profit margin on this one. So that would have been, gambling wise, what are the odds of a fire happening? I can't even promise you that low, but that was one of the most profitable options for them. And so when the fire happened, I was like, well, here's the good news. What we were worried about before, profit wise, we don't have to worry about that. You have insurance, crickets.
I've heard the story, and this is what I think about every time I buy a loan. I'm like, I got to get my insurance. I've got to get my insurance, because if something bad is going to happen, it could happen. It's just as likely to happen tomorrow, 5 days from now, or the day after you close on a loan. So
yeah, it's hard to time these things, but you want to be prepared for them, because again, for some of us, that is a viable exit strategy. We should maybe even have a whole another episode on some of the exit strategies we have, the creative ones. But also having our insurance guy come back, it's always good for them to circle back. We've had them on here before, but having them come and talk to you, because I can go on and on and on about insurance. But since we're focusing on the 4 things, we're coming up on our last one. But insurance, you really want to know the difference if you have a lease option, contract for deed, or mortgage, what type you need. You mentioned forced place. That's specifically going to be something that you would get when you have a mortgage. If you have a contract for deed or a lease option, you're really going to consider that landlord insurance. And so, without diving into your scenario, I think you did the right thing, of course, by getting that insurance regardless,
Yeah, for sure. Now, the only thing I have not, and I'm only putting this out there, is those land loans I've purchased. We have not purchased insurance on them, but also it's land. I'm not really sure what I'm insuring. So that's kind of the one little thing that I haven't bought anything on it yet, but again, I bought land, so I'm not really sure what I'd be insuring. So
right. And so, like we said, we'll have a different episode, and that's one of the things that we will talk to our professional about, how you insure land. But yeah, that one was a totally different trade, and I think you're taking care of as well, because we actually have dwellings on them from people. Let's talk about the 4th one, which is recording. What have you experienced about recording outside the obvious, which is it takes some time, right?
It takes so much time. You have to be very patient, and recording is an interesting one because you almost kind of forget about it because you're so focused on the first 3, the servicing, the insurance, and the taxes, and then just getting all your processes and procedures in place. And in order to record it, it's done through paper copies. So you have to be patient and wait for I was seeing if I had an actual copy. I don't have my thing right here, but like you have to wait for the hard paper to come before you can record. And then when you get that, then you have to mail it to the the company that's going to record it for you. And it's a little scary. It made me really nervous, to be honest, like giving them this collateral file, because those are my originals. Like that's what I just bought for, $10,000 or whatever it was. So I had to put that in the mail, and obviously I'm doing tracking, and obviously you want to pay for tracking. You got to know where it's at and all. There you go. Yeah. It's nerve wracking getting rid of that, because that's like that's your asset. That's what you bought.
Yeah. I mean, if you listen to this from beginning to end, you've heard us touch base about one of the most difficult things for you coming from real assets, again, real estate, to the note world is just that, right? When you buy a house, you get keys, you get to walk in, you kind of feel like king of the mountain or whatever, you're rolling into the house. When you buy a note, this is it, ladies and gentlemen, you're getting paperwork. So we treat this like with all the utmost respect here. And if you're part of the community, this was our blue folder. When you get this in the mail, you're excited because in it, yes, as you mentioned, you have your collateral and your assignments. And so as we progress, with technology, a lot of counties are allowing you to do electronic filing, but there's a lot of nuances and places for you to misstep. So that takes a long time. They keep rejecting them for reasons. It's really, I mean, if your margin isn't wide enough, 3 3/4 or whatever it is, they will measure it. You'll have to go back and redo it. So either way, whether you're, again, like Shelby mentioned, forced to send in the originals, which more often than not you are, you have to be patient in allowing the person who, one, has multiple documents to record. If you're using a third-party company, which we're going to have 1 or 2 on our podcast, or if you're using an escrow company, I just closed a note with an escrow company out of Texas. They're going to do the recording for you, but that's not the only thing they have to record. Okay, so you've got quite a few kind of dragging things that drag the timeline that you just have to be patient with, right? So not only is the county itself backlogged, right? Which, welcome to a few minutes after the pandemic. Yes, they are.
Right.
Is the person who's recording everything backlogged, right? How many does she have to record? Are you the first one in line, or you at the bottom of the list, right? But these are things that with recording, they're just going to take time. And so I think one of the reasons we have it at the bottom is not, again, to slight the sense of urgency, but to let you know that that's going to take time. The things that can get done immediately are going to be the servicing, the taxes, and insurance, and recording. You want to get that in motion, but know that it's going to take time before it's actually settled in. Kind of like the servicing, but dragging on a lot longer. I've had documents take up to 6 to 8 months to get recorded. So just know that it can get real.
Right. And it's just like what you said, like it's a lot of these counties or states. I mean, or cities, it's like one person at her desk, and maybe she's been on maternity leave, or maybe she was out last week, she was sick or whatever. I mean, it's literally a stack of files that when it's a hard paper like that someone's having to sit there and process. So you just have to be patient and understand where it's at in the process. So, if you've got everything to them, or you're just waiting on them, or they're waiting on something from you, or you just have to know, where you're at, but it just takes time.
So definitely, if you're listening and if you're watching, you got the full animated part of the S.T.I.R, right? So if you're listening, definitely write that down, right? S.T.I.R. I have that in my office, so you get it done right away. This is what we train off. So you're getting a sneak peek of how, robotic we are within our training program, and how meticulous we are about the things that happen at what point. So that S.T.I.R, once again, stands for servicing, taxes, insurance, and recording. And we think these are the things that are the most urgent things that you start working on as soon as you wire the funds. You don't necessarily, and some of these you cannot start working on until and after you own and you've sent the money. But things, as we mentioned, like the servicing, you can definitely start getting underway.
Absolutely. I love it. It's really important things for everybody to know, and good refreshers, even if you're a seasoned note investor. Just good things to always refresh you on, and make sure you've got up to date and you've got your systems and processes ready.
That was fun, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for listening.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us again. This is season 8, episode 3, and check us out on all the local channels. Find us on the YouTube if you want to, again, watch the real life version and the animated version. It's up there on YouTube, and check out our website too, nakednotespodcast.com. And then we're also got a Facebook group too. So look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode.
Yeah, and on social media. Take care.
That's right. Thanks.
Thank you for joining Naked Notes. Jasmine and Shelby are not attorneys, and this podcast is intended for educational purposes only. For more information about how to work with the Note Assistance Program, please go to www.noteassistanceprogram.com to get details of the programs they offer to help you get started in notes. You can also find them on Facebook at Note Assistance Program. Be sure to also check out their meetup.com page for monthly lunch and learns, note labs, and other events. Make sure to check back regularly for new episodes, and let Naked Notes be your trusted partner on your note journey.